Happy New Year! We are right now in Trilith, which is in Fayetteville, Georgia, and it's
doing a staycation.
But right across is Trilith Studios, which is a movie studio where they filmed many scenes. So this hotel is very much movie vibes.
Yeah.
And kind of interesting to see this whole place, Trilith. It's very interesting to see this developing and growing. So yeah, just a little bit history of where we're at right now. Hi everyone watching this video, happy 2025. For this video, it's a little different because we're not actually talking about a new destination that we've been to. We are taking a retrospective look of 2024 of all the destinations we've been to. So far, it seems like we've visited 11 destinations as shown up here. And today, we'll be talking about it. So we have a couple of categories that we will be talking about. Let me pull up my phone because you will see me holding up my phone because my notes are on here. And we've each written down our notes of what our answers are for each category. So let's start out with food.
Okay.
Right? So our first category is, what is your favorite food trip?
Do you want to go first?
I'll go first. So I've written down my favorite food trip has to be Taiwan. And it's because we have had a lot of great experiences. We went to the night market, which we got to try some of the street food. And I think my favorite food from the night market is the pork buns, pepper pork buns. Those were so good.
Really good.
How about you, Josh?
My favorite food trip was absolutely Tokyo. Like everything that we had in Tokyo, in Japan in general, it did not miss.
Yeah.
Everything was amazing. Food was spectacular. Yeah, it was a foodie's dream.
But our next question is, what was your favorite dish out of all the places we've been to in 2024?
Well, going off of my Tokyo, we had an amazing, and I don't remember the restaurant's name, but it was a dry ramen in Tokyo. It was, I never had dry ramen before, but it was incredible, spicy, salty, vinegary, and it was just packed with flavor.
Okay, I remember which one that was. That was somen, so it's soba noodles as ramen. It was really good. I forgot what the name of it was too because it's in Japanese. But yes, definitely very good. That was actually on my list as well. But I actually wrote down my favorite dish has to be the date cake from Best Friend in Las Vegas. I was very, hesitant because it's dates. And I'm not sure if I've actually had dates before. But after you've tried it, my gosh, it was so good.
It was really good. It was very good. And that whole experience of several courses, every single course was great.
So the next question is, what was your favorite adventure or activity? My favorite adventure or activity has got to be walking on the cliff walk in Newport, Rhode Island. I would say that's my top because, one, you're walking next to the ocean. And like hearing the waves, it's a very relaxing environment, and having to get the chance to walk next to a lot of the mansions, some of them being from the Gilded Age, is so astonishing and interesting.
That's funny because it's mine as well. Just walking the cliff walk, and it's funny because it was raining when we were there, it was raining in the morning, and we had driven there, so we'd taken a lift to the cliff walk, and we were on the verge of quitting, but we decided to power through, and I'm so glad that we did because it cleared up almost as soon as we hit the cliff walk, and it was an amazing experience. It was such a surprise, and something that I am so happy that we did, because that was so memorable.
Now we're moving to a more retrospective look of like what activities we've done throughout all of the vacations that we did. Now this is gonna be for two trips or 2 moments. So what was your most favorite moment during a trip? And this is for 2 trips.
Well, I think my favorite moment overall was taking the Malcolm gondola up to the mountains in Taipei and having a wonderful, quiet moment of having tea at a tea house overlooking the valleys of Taipei, and it was an amazing experience that it was so magical. The mist coming over the mountains, it was just unmatched.
Yeah, my first one is seeing Mount Fuji.
Yeah.
So, long story short, a lot of people say that Mount Fuji often hides behind clouds, and we actually were not expecting to see Mount Fuji because I think when we went, the weather wasn't the greatest or wasn't the best, but we got to see Mount Fuji twice. One was when we went to the Tokyo Metropolitan Building, where we went all the way to like the top floor, I think, and we saw Mount Fuji there just peeking at us.
Yep.
Snow-capped mountains. What was your second favorite moment?
Getting to take trains more than I thought we would be able to this year. We ended up taking 2 trains, very unplanned in both instances, but I'm very glad that we were able to do that because it was a blast.
Now, which train was your favorite?
Oh, we did get to ride the Asawa for the first time. The U.S. is like one of the U.S.'s few high-speed rails, but I loved doing the Sunset Limited. My second time doing the Sunset Limited, March 1st. But yeah, it was wonderful to go back on those rails and experience that again.
My second one was seeing a heron in Sarasota.
Just a bird?
Just a bird, because it was unexpected.
Yeah.
It was like, I was just looking into the ocean and all of a sudden you got 2 herons walking towards each other and like, oh, that is so beautiful, so majestic.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never been up close and personal with one, so
Yeah.
yes. Now, what was your least favorite moment of a trip?
When I was making out this list, this was the question that was the hardest to answer, but then it came to me, was the foghorn in Las Vegas. Our hotel was right next to the hockey stadium in Las Vegas, the Las Vegas team hockey stadium, and they were having a game the night that we were there, and in the middle of the night, while we were trying to sleep, we just hear a foghorn every time they make a hockey goal, and it took all the patience I had to, first of all, go to sleep, and second of all, not blow a top.
That was the same one I put down.
Yeah, I mean...
So, yes, I put this down because we were trying to sleep, and then also our neighbors in the hotel, because, you know, there's like...
It's Vegas. People are gonna party.
There's that door that goes into like another room, you know, the joining rooms, and they were so loud because, you know, they were watching the game, and then at like... The horns kept going even when it was 10 p.m. and later, so we barely got any sleep.
Yeah, that was a rough night.
Yes, but still, no complaints. We enjoyed our Las Vegas trip.
I mean, for all the traveling we did, the fact that we were having such a hard time finding one, I think that's a good sign that we had a good year of travel.
If we could visit this place again, what would it be? I'm going with Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge.
Interesting. I'm
Yes.
surprised.
I actually really liked our family trip to Tennessee, mainly because I've never been to the Smoky Mountains national park, not state park, national park. And it was just very quiet, very quaint, very wilderness. I'm not a camper, I'm not a camping person, but it felt very nice being within nature and being in the mountains. Now, I didn't hear anything scary, because the Appalachian Mountains are known for its scary stories, but
I've been to the Appalachians and specifically Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge a lot growing up, so it's kind of familiar to me. So, and I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
That was my first time there.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot more things to do. My coworkers back when we lived in Indiana also mentioned Gatlinburg a lot, and they would often go there. So that kind of made me think of them.
Yeah. For me, I want to go back to Amsterdam. There. We didn't have a lot of time there, but the time that we did have, we really enjoyed it. And there are so many things that we did not get to see that we really wanted to see. So I would love to go back to Amsterdam to see the sites that we didn't get to see and just experience Amsterdam again, because it was lovely and we had a wonderful time.
So we're almost done. We just have a couple questions left. So which destination this year was the most unexpected?
Yeah, I think the one that was the most unexpected, we had a couple of unexpected moments, but I think the one that takes the cake for me was our San Antonio trip, because it was a lot of unexpected events that occurred back to back. That weekend we weren't sure we were going to go to San Antonio. We had a couple of destinations in mind, but we ended up going to San Antonio. And it also happened to be the weekend where the airline industry had a really bad shutdown, essentially. So this was one of the trips where we had to take a train back. And so that was a really unexpected moment that I really enjoyed because, again, being a train fan, I got to take the Sunset Limited and take Elmar on the Sunset Limited for the first time. And we got to unexpectedly spend a night in New Orleans, which was lovely. We had a very nice overnight in New Orleans and then just headed home from there.
Mm-hmm. And fun fact, the Sunset Limited is the oldest route on Amtrak's current network.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so my answer to that is Jacksonville and St. Augustine. Now, St. Augustine, not so much, but Jacksonville, whenever I mentioned to people that I was going to Jacksonville, they were like, why Jacksonville?
Yeah, it's not the first thing you think of when you think of vacation.
Yeah, but being there, it was actually really nice. I mean, I didn't really think we would step foot in Florida last year, but it was actually a nice surprise.
Yeah.
We got to learn a lot of history when we went to one of the forts. And then we also got to compare that history when we went to St. Augustine, where they also mentioned the fort in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So that was actually a nice surprise.
Yeah, Jacksonville was an amazing surprise, and I'm very happy that we made that trip.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so last question, and this might be a tough one. Rank your top 3 destinations, and let's start out with number 3.
Number 3 first?
Yes.
Okay. So for my number 3, it's got to be Newport, Rhode Island. It was so special. Like we already talked about, the cliff walk was amazing. We got to have an amazing lobster that New England is famous for. We had an amazing afternoon tea experience in one of the old historical buildings. It was just a magical trip that was an amazing time. And it also had an unexpected pleasure of being able to take the Asawa train for the first time as well. So.
Mm-hmm. And I will never complain. I love clam chowder.
Yeah. What was your number 3?
My number 3 was Amsterdam. I guess it's my second trip to Europe. And so I'm not very familiar with Europe in general, but it was very nice to actually get to Amsterdam for once.
Yeah.
Because even in high school, I've always dreamt of going to Amsterdam, going to the Netherlands, because it was always a very interesting destination, especially for the LGBTQ community. Number 2
for me is Taipei. Taipei was an amazing experience. That it was kind of a blessing that we got to go there in the first place, and it was really similar to what I was saying with Tokyo. It's a foodie destination as well. There was so much amazing food, but the sights were also very beautiful. It's an amazing, beautiful mountainous country, and we got to experience so much of that in our week trip there. So that's my number 2.
Now my number 2, this was a little bit difficult for me. I would have to choose Tokyo, Japan.
Oh, okay.
Tokyo, Japan is my number 2 because it has its downsides of being overpopulated. I loved Japan, don't get me wrong. It almost tied for my number 1. The only difference was the amount of tourists. Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to do, and I enjoyed it. A lot of my friends kept telling me, why just Tokyo? Why don't you go other places in Japan? And I'm like, I will, just not on this trip because I want to focus on all the things we can do in Tokyo.
Yeah.
I'm not about to rush the whole Tokyo scene in 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah. And that kind of like piggybacks onto my number 1, which is Tokyo. And my number 1 is Tokyo for a lot of the reasons that you were talking about, but also I think we have found that our travel style is very medium pace, not super slow, but not super crazy that we're trying to cram everything in at once. And I think Japan was a perfect balance of that. We got to see a lot of what we wanted to see, but we never felt like we were rushing through it. We got to experience it. And like you were saying, why people were asking us why we would only do Tokyo in a whole week. And I think that kind of goes with our desire of wanting a medium-paced trip, is we got to experience so much of Tokyo at our own pace, and I don't think we would have experienced a lot of what we wanted to experience if we had shortened our trip to Tokyo. Now, that's not to say that I don't want to go to Japan again, because I definitely want to go to Japan again to see Kyoto and Osaka, but we'll save that for another trip. But I'm very glad that we guys spent a whole week in Tokyo, and that's why it's my number 1.
Maybe Okinawa as well.
Yes, and Hokkaido.
Hokkaido.
Yeah.
Well, my number 1, piggybacking from his number 2, Taipei. Taiwan was just very beautiful, and again, it was almost tying with Tokyo, except Taiwan had fewer tourists. And it could have been the time we went, which was in November?
Yeah.
Like late October, early November, compared to Japan, we went in February, which was also a low season, but there was just a lot of people. Taiwan was a little bit more enjoyable. A lot of things we could do in Taiwan that ranged from food, nature, as well as, hiking. So we did a lot of hiking in Taiwan.
Well, we attempted to do a lot of hiking in
Attempted
Taiwan. We did a decent amount, but we didn't go all out, what we could have been.
So we still did a lot of walking to
Oh, we
where we did at least 20,000 steps a day.
Yeah.
Taiwan was my number 1, very, very close to Tokyo. So here's a question that's not on our list.
Oh boy, okay. Just impromptu.
The question is, what trip would you be looking forward to the most in the future?
The trip that I would be looking forward to most in the future, I really want to take you on another train trip. I want to take you on a train trip on the coast of the I've been on the train trip on the West Coast, and it is absolutely beautiful. I would love Elmar to experience that with me. So that would be something I would love to do in the future.
Name drop the route.
I use the Coast Starlight.
The Coast
Yes,
Starlight.
yes, that Amtrak does.
So what do you like about the Coast Starlight?
It's you get a full range of terrain and scenic views that it is so unique to this route. You get mountains and and forests and coastline and desert. You get all of that in this single train route from Seattle to Los Angeles, and it's absolutely amazing and beautiful. Yeah, highly recommend.
Now, my trip that I would be looking forward to in the future, which we don't really have planned just yet, would be a trip to Quebec City.
In the fall.
In the fall. And if you know me, I grew up with K-pop, K-dramas, Korean dramas, all of that stuff. And a very influential Korean drama for me, which I've also shared with Josh, is Goblin. And they have scenes in Quebec City in the fall. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I want to go.
Yeah. That would be very magical.
Yes. Now that'll require flying to Montreal and then taking a train, which I'm sure Josh would love.
Absolutely. I'm always down.
We don't have any plans to do it just yet, but eventually in the future, that is one of my dream destinations.
Yeah.
Now, thank you so much for joining us
Yeah.
with this interview and retrospective of 2024. We had such a great year, and we're hoping for a good 2025 for us and for all the family members and viewers out there. Thank you all for joining us throughout 2024 and beyond. We're happy to have you here. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.